Welcome back. In other news now, the death of the Italian student Giulio Regeni in Egypt has prompted more families who suffered a similar loss to establish a possible connection. They suspect that late members of their families might have been victims of foul play. For instance, the family of Saad Tarek is of the opinion that their late brother and husband was unjustly killed by Egyptian security forces. The Interior Ministry defends their move, saying the man in question and another were outlaws who were killed in a shootout with police. The above is reminiscent of what happened with Giulio Regeni, the Italian student who went missing earlier this year and was later found dead on the streets of Cairo with apparent signs of torture which looked like the work of Egyptian security forces. We're still talking about Egypt. The Secretary of State, John Kerry, showed strong support for the government of the Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi in Cairo on Wednesday. Secretary Kerry explained that the U.S. is looking to help Egypt succeed in its efforts to overcome the difficult challenges it faces economically and in combating extremists in the Sinai Peninsula, where militants have formed a local ISIS affiliate. He also promised to return to Cairo with ideas to help invigorate Egypt's economy and to aid Egypt in its campaign against ISIS. The Obama administration has become increasingly public with its frustrations as the government crackdown on civil society has intensified. However, the comments drew a sharp response from Egyptian Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry, who said Egypt rejected tutelage about its human rights from other countries. Well, the Voice of America's Edward Yeranian is in Cairo for us, and he joins us right now on the program. Thank you for your time.
My pleasure, Joe Kay.
Analysts are criticizing Secretary John Kerry of simply making mention of the human rights situation in Egypt as opposed to addressing the matter head on.
Well, I think diplomacy is the art of quietly discussing issues with your interlocutors, and I believe that's what Secretary Kerry did. Oftentimes, making noisy statements have the opposite effect of what is desired, and I think the proof of diplomacy in this case is that the trial against the non-governmental organization leaders was postponed until May. So at least in the short term, there's been some positive effect from Secretary Kerry's discussion with the president. And I think in Arab society, the last thing you want is to insult someone with whom you're speaking, especially when you're a visitor and a guest. So that would definitely be a no-no.
Edward, another point which analysts raise is that the U.S. should be doing more regarding this human rights issue, considering the huge support which the U.S. gives Egypt annually. Should that be the case?
Well, certainly a number of academics have been circulating a petition on Twitter to that effect. I think the number of academics that have signed is actually very minimal compared to the number of academics who actually deal in the Middle East and Egypt. But that being said, that's their right. In terms of actually putting pressure with military aid, part of the problem is that aid is coming through the Camp David Accords, which is a treaty which the U.S. was a party to, and it's between Israel and Egypt. Now, Egypt insists that it's been fulfilling its part of the agreement, and I guess it has. So using that aid as a leverage or bargaining position point, I'm not sure that would be legal given the treaty.
What would be the appropriate way for the United States to strike a balance between taking a stand on the human rights issue in Egypt and also respecting the sovereignty of the country?
Well, in a democracy like that of the United States and many other countries, of course, the problem is you have different points of view in government. You have the The Senate, which is fairly strongly in support of Egypt, given the security situation both in the country and in the region. And you have the president, who has been more critical of the Egyptian government and the Egyptian president. And Secretary Kerry, who was the longtime head of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, so undoubtedly knows what the position of the senators on that committee is. So I think it would be difficult to take a stronger position given the divisions within our own American system of government.
Thank you, Edward, for sharing your thoughts on Network Africa. Well, finally on the program, a women's group in Kenya is promoting the use of the cultural Maasai blanket, a hand-woven fabric done in bright colors that's associated with the pastoralist Maasai community. The Maasai blanket has gained popularity across the country and has also inspired fashion products seen on international runways in recent years.
Weavers make traditional Maasai fabric at a small workshop in Kitale, Western Kenya. They are producing Maasai blankets, a cultural checked fabric done in bright colors. The blanket was originally worn by the Maasai pastoralist community, who continue to stick to their traditional way of life. Different colors are worn at specific occasions by the community, and over time, many people across the country have adopted the use of the blanket, which has become a cultural symbol in Kenya. The Ujirani Mwema community, which makes the blankets and other shawls for sale, was started in 2009 by Gertrude Naliania, a trained tailor, to help members supplement their income. The group is made up of 20 women, many of whom were single mothers or widows. The group wants to counter lighter and cheaper versions of the Maasai blankets that are being imported from China and have found their way into the local markets.
We have decided to discourage people from importing textiles. We have discovered that we are capable of producing the blankets ourselves so that we can sell them locally and internationally because we have a permit from the national and county government.
Today, the workshop produces 40 blankets a day and has 10 employees. The Maasai blanket has also inspired fashion products seen on international runways in recent years, including collections by French fashion house Louis Vuitton. The group sells their products in supermarkets around the country and are also working to market their work outside the country. They are currently working on an order for a business client in Italy. In a good month, they make about $1,000.
I can pay rent for the premises. I can pay the rent for my house. I can also pay school fees, and I also do help the less privileged women to support them, and also the orphan children who are home-based.
Apart from targeting major clients, Gertrude also goes out to sell the blankets on the streets.
When I compare the material, what she's selling with the Chinese, is really a big difference, and I'm happy to buy it.
The women's group eventually plans to purchase land and allocate members plots that they can settle. In the meantime, they continue to preserve an important part of the Kenyan culture that continues to provide them with a source of livelihood.
Excellent work there. Well, that's it on Network Africa. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Joker Rogers.